We got some Panthers and NHL alumni talk from Wednesday night. We also got talk from the All-Star Beach Festival, Media Day, and the upcoming NHL Skills Challenge and All-Star Game on today's edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast.
You're Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome into this Friday, February 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're your team every day. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. I'm Armando Velez, and you can follow me on Twitter at MondoMan12. Follow the show account on Twitter at LO_FLA Panthers. And I'm super excited for this edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast because I spent the last few days in South Florida. Sorry for not bringing you guys an episode on Thursday. It's just driving around and doing all the activities just to sit down and do a show. But we have a jam-packed edition of the show, and we have a special guest on the show, someone who was with me down in South Florida with me, and he is a familiar face and voice to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. He is from the 5 Reasons Sports Network, Alex Baumgartner. Alex, welcome back to Locked On Panthers.
What's up, Panthers fans? It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit since you've come on the show, but you've been traveling all over to see the Panthers play, whether it's Vegas, Toronto, Montreal, and of course you and I both being out of town content creators for the Panthers. We came down here, and let's first talk about the alumni game for the Panthers and the NHL alumni. They were able to raise $50K for the event. Of course, we had the coaches of Jessica Blaylock and Emily Kaplan. Blaylock for the Panthers side, Emily Kaplan for the NHL side. But what were your main takeaways from the event at the Coral Springs Ice 10 on Wednesday night?
You know, we weren't really expecting a competitive game. It's an alumni game. It's more for fun, no back checking. Don't do anything stupid. At the end, as most alumni games do, they start picking it up a little bit. The younger guys, we say younger guys because the alumni who are older call them the younger guys, like Patrick Marleau, a Yandel, a Brian Boyle. Like these guys still are nice to them. These guys still had it in them, and a couple of them could probably still snap it around another year or two in the national. But it was a really cool event. It was nice to see a lot of fans, people coming up to us, talking to us, stuff like that. And it was loud. I mean, yeah, it was at the Ice Den, so there wasn't a lot of capacity, but it was a great turnout for an alumni game like that. And I thought that they put on a great show. I thought Coach Emily Kaplan and Coach Jessica Blaylock both had done a great job, especially on National Women in Sports Day, which
Yes.
I forgot the date, like at the arena until I got back home and was like, wait, this is the same day. So I thought that it was like even better that they were both coaching on that specific day. I thought they did a great job. Probably the most fun scrum I've been a part of on Wednesday, just because of some of the responses, because it was all for fun and it was all for charity. So I really enjoyed that, and it was nice to catch up with everyone. I haven't been in town in over a month, so nice to see all the other media guys and girls.
Yeah, of course, seeing the media people of the David Dworks, the Aaron Browns of the world, got to meet Sarah
The
Sivian.
Armando Velez's of the world.
Yeah. Got to meet Sarah Sivian in person as well. And then, of course, some fans that we ran into Noah Berger, John Acosta. I ran into Joey Ganzi at the Truly Hard Seltzer Beach Festival.
Shout out Alex
from Panther Prairie as well.
Panther Prairie.
Greg Wyszynski, we bumped into him. But also the quotes that I like from Jessica Blaylock. My favorite one is what she said about Bill Lindsay. saying how he needs to make an even more iconic goal than the one that he did in 1996. Is like, and whether we were going to see her throw the clipboard on the ice. And then Emily Kaplan saying, I just got the roster this morning, and then quickly saying everybody's a part of like everyone's resume on the team is like, she did not get the roster this morning. And of course, the
No, she
alumni.
got the roster 10 minutes before the scrum.
Yeah, 10 minutes before the scrum. My bad. I said it incorrectly. But yeah, the NHL alumni got 2 penalty shots in the game. David Booth gets a hat trick. Peter Worrell got a hat trick as well. And during Peter Worrell's hat trick, what do you think of the players throwing their buckets on the ice?
So I thought I saw something fly, like a hat fly onto the ice, and then I saw a helmet start raining, which was probably the funniest thing I've ever seen. It was like bowling balls with these helmets rolling across the ice. And, the players are calling him Big Pete in the locker room. Pete Worrell's a legend down at the ice den, just because of the commitment to youth hockey he's made. So it was nice to see an older Panthers legend, tear it up one more time. And I think he told us in the scrum his last hat trick was probably his rookie season. So it was good to see Pete do that. And then I grew up watching David Booth play. Like, he was the guy him and Stephen Weiss were the guys everyone wanted to be. So to see David Booth still whipping it around like that, and I think he might still be playing professional in Europe or something like that. So, I mean, he was doing the David Booth drop the shoulder, drive the net. So that was pretty cool. You heard a couple boots in the crowd, which you heard back when he played for the Cats. So, David Booth looks the same as he did when I was watching him, 10 years ago.
Sure, definitely still has the speed. And then, of course, we got to see. I got to snap a picture of Rhett Warner and John Van Briesbroek together. He was and of course, seeing our friend David Dork have a conversation. 2 goalie guys just having a conversation together. So I was happy for David Dork himself, and of course Peter Worrell. You mentioned about him getting his hat trick. It was against Jose Theodore back in the day, and then Keith Yandel. What I liked about Keith Yandel.
Yans is the best.
I think he was paired with Brian McCabe a few times, and McCabe talking about how not a good idea to pair those two together. And
Yeah, I asked McCabe after the game. I was like, "Hey, how do you like playing with Yans?" He's like, "Yans looks good, but I was terrible," or something like that. And it was funny because McCabe was probably the best player at the alumni game in Toronto a couple of months ago. So him and Luongo have been a frequent of alumni games recently.
Yeah, and asked Keith Yandel was asked about what he's doing for the All-Star festivities, and he talked about doing stuff for Bleacher Report as well. And this is the best quote of the night, when he said that he was coming for our jobs, and then later on we see him with Bleacher Report at Media Day with the tiny mic talking to Alexander Barkov. So just a great personality that Keith Yandel has. And one other thing, Roberto Luongo. I don't know if we saw the gritty or not from Luongo this time. I think I looked away after he scored, but scoring in the final seconds, you know that you had to get the Panthers legend a goal there.
Yeah,
But
he said at the end that he doesn't know if it counts because they were kind of letting him score just for the fans.
Yeah.
But in Toronto, he did earn those goals, and he did hit the gritty. So
Hey, you don't complain about getting on the scoreboard, whether they let you or not. That's for sure. But we're going to transition over to segment number 2, where we're going to talk about the Beach Festival in Fort Lauderdale Beach. We're going to discuss what you will see if you happen to not go to the Beach Festival just yet, and plenty of more here
wear
on the Locked On.
sunscreen.
Yes, wear sunscreen. Yes, that's a fair warning. We're going to discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. But first, we're going to tell you all about FanDuel. And this year, the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. We're excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On, because they're the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. If you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line, point spreads, and who will score a touchdown. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid on your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. Back on this second segment here on this Friday, February 3rd edition of Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, where Alex Baumgartner from the 5 Reasons Sports Network is here. You and I got to meet up pretty early in the day. Grabbed some food at the tents at the beach festival. If you happen to go to Odyssey Beach Fest, it's in the very same location, Fort Lauderdale Beach Park. I think the address is 1100 1100 Seabreeze Boulevard, A1A near Las Olas. Of course, you got to pay for your own parking in certain locations. But one thing that I liked the most about it was the traveling Hall of Fame that they, of course, I know you've worked at the Hall of Fame in Toronto, but of course, someone like me who doesn't see it every single day, the fact that they bring the individual awards down, like the Hart, the Calder, and team awards like the President's Trophy as well, the Prince of Wales as well. And of course, the biggest section, because we're in South Florida, the history of Florida hockey as well, with some of the old jerseys. There was an old Brian McCabe jersey with just the Panther face on top of it. We had a Sergei Bobrovsky reverse retro from 2 years ago as well, and a Roberto Luongo goalie stick. I believe it was I forget which year it was, but that there was a game used goalie stick there.
Well,
The
cool part about, I didn't actually go there. That was probably the only part I didn't look at. But the funny thing is, that's like, you go to the regular Hall of Fame, you will see all the trophies, the bigger versions, but all the Panthers stuff you saw was specifically curated for this event, because the Hockey Hall of Fame only displays about 15%, 15 to 25%. I think it's closer to 15% of what the Hall of Fame owns. So all that Panther stuff you just named was not displayed at the Hall of Fame in the time I worked there. So that's stuff that you've never seen before. Anyone, really.
some information from Alex Baumgartner.
Insider information.
Some insider information. You can only imagine what are behind the curtains, what they don't bring out on display. And of course, Hall of Fames, they interchange throughout different times of what they bring out.
Interchange almost every week.
Mm-hmm.
At least one thing. So yeah.
So one of the other activities that you could see do there as a fan, of course, once again, admission is free there. Activities like air hockey, what you use to hit the air hockey with an actual bigger air hockey, like it's bigger, way bigger than a puck, and of course what you hit it with is the paddle is very heavy. So I didn't even score. I didn't. The plus minus was even. I didn't score a goal, nor did I give up a goal on mine when I played it. Of course, there was hardest shot as well. Can't say that I shoot nearly to the levels of an NHL player. Can't say that.
I think my highest was 68, but if I was on the ice, I could probably get it to 75, but that's not enough.
Mine was like 48, something like that. So not the highest MPH. I got to watch some of the esports tourney as well. I got to see one of a 3-goal comeback from one of and of course broadcasted live on Twitch. So maybe you'll see if you look at a replay, you get to see me in the crowd. And I love the United by Hockey truck, the museum where it talks about indigenous hockey players, people of color as well. We've seen like a Kevin Weeks there. We saw Jerome McGinley as well, and a
Jason Robertson,
or
Ryan Reeves. It was for the official press release had to do with diversity, showing diversity in hockey or something around that, and it's a beautiful thing that museum that they've been able to curate. I think they had stuff from Willie O'Ree as well. So a really, really cool thing.
Yeah, there's also names like Brian Trottier, Bill Guerin, Julie Chu, Mike Greer, general manager of the San Jose Sharks as well, and a play-by-play section where you could do a highlight. And the one I did was former Panther Al Montoya, but this was when he was with the Canadians, and the play was a save that he made against the Panthers. It was a shot from Keith Yandel from the point, and then Aaron Ekblad on a follow. So I decided to do a little bit of a play-by-play for that one as well. Of course, there's autograph tents of where Matthew Tkachuk and Sasha Barkov were there early in the day on Friday as well. And of course, the best one of it all, getting to take a picture with the Stanley Cup. And that was the very first time that I personally have been that close to the Stanley Cup. And of course, the NHL and South Florida just had to put the beach background because Florida. So just
That was a beautiful shot of the cup. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had my opportunity, and of course, I'm not an NHL player, so does it really matter whether I touch it or not? Not
I've
really.
touched it multiple times, but that's because I've had to move the cup before because I used to work at the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm. But
And
I personally did not touch the cup for for just superstitious reasons.
mhm.
But let's move on a little bit to media day as well, which was held around 3
Wait, wait,
o'clock.
wait, 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 wait. We're flying by the most important part of the day. You getting in the net
Oh my God, no.
and getting hit in the in a region you don't want to get hit on the opening shot. Respect to Armando for not only getting into the goal where a machine fires pucks at you from a ridiculously close range. Because when we had the game at the Hall of Fame, it wasn't that close. And a guy's aiming it. It's not programmed to go in certain parts of the net. The Hall of Fame one, you would never get hit where Armando got hit because they program it's going to corners. Yeah, well, he got in the net. It was like maybe 10 shots, and the first shot hit him where you would wear a cup.
Yeah.
Hit
So
in the
and that
net
hurt.
though.
It hurt me for a few hours. And
Hours.
yeah.
Jeez,
So
it stings.
yeah. So wear a cup if you're gonna try to
I would
stop the
not
puck.
do that one just because the guy was aiming low the first 4 shots.
Mm-hmm. So
So
yeah, and it's very close if you decide to go. But now we can talk about media day. Thank you for telling that story. I think the listeners will definitely have a good laugh at that. But one thing after media day was the announcement of Anthony Duclair launching his foundation and the Panthers matching 100K of it, but of course him raising a 200K in it. But what were your biggest takeaways from media day, which the shots showed right on the beach as far as background because of course Florida? What were your biggest takeaways
well,
from media day?
after being on the beach from 10:30 to 2:50, I'm like, okay, cool. We're going to the hotel. It's gonna be indoors. It's gonna be fun. I meet up with Glenn from South Florida Sports. So he's there. We're both walking through the media entrance, and I'm looking at the doors we have to go through, and I'm like, wait a minute, the podiums are outside. So I walk out, I'm like, we're doing media day with the backdrop of the ocean, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever seen. And that's saying something because I just saw the Stanley Cup on the beach.
Mm-hmm.
Now a couple hours before. But I'm like, it was great. Like it was actually cool at 3:30, so it was not hot at all. Nice little sea breeze. I mean, it was like picture perfect almost. The NHL logos with the All-Star backdrop and the All-Star podiums and the ocean in the back and beach. And I'm just like, there's a reason why the All-Star game is in South Florida, and there's a reason why South Florida is doing such a good job and there's such a good turnout. Because not only is, I'm going to say it now, hockey does work in southern markets, non-traditional markets.
Agreed.
you should have seen how many people were running to get to the autograph signing, running. A couple people said, "Oh, hey, Alex, in line." And I was like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And, talking like, "Yeah, like we're going to go back again for another autograph." Like, people loved it. But over to media day, the setup was great. I mean, it looked so nice. Like, it was just like it was scenic almost. It was like extremely nice in terms of just visual. If you look at NBA media days or stuff like that, oftentimes it's in a conference room. They weren't doing they do it best in South Florida. They do it
Mhm.
best.
Yeah, and the setup was the Kachuk brothers right next to each other as well,
Yeah.
which is of course a cool feature. Matthew talking about extra tickets, him being very lucky that he's the host player. Of course, Sasha Barkov.
I asked
That was Alex that asked that. So
that.
credit to Alex for that
No,
one.
the funny thing about that one is I asked him. We were asking him something about Brady. I don't think the one after. I don't think I asked this one, but someone else asked something about Brady, and Brady starts to sit down at his podium right when Matthew says it, and Brady's smiling, and Matthew's like, "Well, look at this guy." I think it was to do with being like the older brother, but look how big Brady, because Brady's taller or something. It was just cool to see the two of them next to each other, and like it was kind of hard because of the speakers on. I had to change the recording because now I'm with Brady instead of Matthew, but no, it was cool.
And Bo Horvat, at least a little bit of an awkward moment because he's at the podium with an Islanders logo on his, but he's going to be actually playing for the Pacific Division
But
in
he
the
will
All
have
Star.
Islanders patches on his equipment.
Weird, just weird a little bit. Just the strange timing of that trade as well for Bo Horvat, and
It
you
has
got
happened before. John Scott did get traded when he was nominated from the Arizona Coyotes. Now we know that was a different situation.
yep.
But it's pretty much the same thing. I think he played for the Central or something, or
And he got MVP that year too.
did get MVP. He played a good game.
Yeah. So what a year for that one as well. But you got an opportunity to talk to Kevin Fiala of the LA Kings, a fellow Swiss of yours. How's that like?
Yeah, I mean, I talked to a couple players, but the one I really wanted to like, we talked that we knew we would get Barkov and Kachuk, and we talked to them all the time. When I knew Fiala got into the All-Star game, my grandpa got excited because he's a big Swiss hockey fan like I am, and did a little bit of background research just on Swiss NHL All-Stars. Kevin Fiala will be the sixth player from Switzerland to play in an NHL All-Star game. Roman Yossi's played in 4, and then Nico Tirschier, Timo Meyer, Jonas Hiller, and Mark Streit, I believe, have played in 1. So it's pretty big for Swiss hockey to have another guy in the NHL All-Star game. And it was his first experience. And, he's come from the Minnesota Wild after having a great season. And he's first year in the LA Kings, and he's by far the best player on that team. And I think his career as a whole has been very interesting because he's a Swiss guy who played junior hockey in Sweden, got drafted to the Predators, played for Milwaukee for a bit, played for the Predators, was traded for, I believe, Mikael Granlund, I think, in that deal, for the Minnesota deal. And, he by far exceeded the expectations of the Minnesota Wild. And then salary cap issues, Minnesota had to make decisions. And when you have that much money in recapture penalties from Suter and Parise, and then Kaprizov's making, I think, north of $9 million.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little hard because Fiala was due to make around $8 million when he made 7-8 a year in LA. But no, he's had a great career, and like I talked to him a lot about Swiss hockey, and sometimes when you have these big media things where you have so many players, the McDavids and the Dreisaitl's are going to get a little bit more of the microphones. So I did have basically almost a one-on-one with Fiala. Like there were other people. A Swiss network did come. They also had Sky Sports Germany or Europe or something there. So he did have a lot of people to talk to, but I did get a lot of time to talk to him, which was good because the one guy I did want to speak to, kind of about his journey as a Swiss hockey player was Kevin Fiala. So really nice guy. Shout out the LA Kings for posting a picture of me where I looked horrendous, but Kevin Fiala being a man rocket looked amazing. And everyone thankfully was looking at Fiala and not me because it was only me and him in the picture. But yeah, it was a fun moment. And I talked to guys like Jack Hughes too for a little bit.
Orlando born Jack.
Yeah, he doesn't really like he was asked about that. He was just born there.
Yeah.
It's not his hometown. But I did talk to Sveshnikov for 30 seconds, and what a guy. Really nice guy. I said thanks, and he winked at me after. Really, really nice guy. Another first-time All-Star. So I think this is going to be a really interesting week.
Yeah, for sure. And it's only going to get more interesting as we have more of the events going on tonight, including the NHL Skills Challenge, where we're going to discuss that next here on the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Stay with us here.
Your Locked On Panthers, your daily podcast on the Florida Panthers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Third and final segment here on this Friday, February 3rd edition of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Got Alex Baumgartner here from the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And I did buy a little something from the Fanatics shop here at the Beach Festival. We're gonna full screen myself real quick. Just got this puck from the store. So a little bit more to the collection of pucks for myself.
I can zoom in on my hat here.
Yeah. Got also Alex got himself an All-Star hat from the Fanatic shop too.
There's the All-Star logo.
All-Star logo right there.
My hair was terrible after being on the beach for hours, so I had to go. I ran to Las Olas and I bought the hat, and then I went back to the fest.
Yeah. It was a really hot day. Once again, wear sunscreen. But let's talk about some of the challenges for the skills competition. Just going to go through some of them very quickly. Accuracy challenge: Sasha Barkov, Leon Draisaitl, Kevin Hayes, Jack Hughes, Nazem Kadri, Nikita Kucherov, Connor McDavid, Brock Nelson, Artemi Panarin, Vladimir Tarasenko will be part of that. Pitch and puck, the par 4 golf hole, which of course holds near and dear to my heart with working in golf television for almost a decade and now working in hockey for the last
that event already happened, right?
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay,
but we weren't there for that one.
It's like the splash shot.
Yeah, which we were there for the splash shot, but we won't share any results of what happened. But the pitch and puck before we go to the slap shot is Johnny Gaudreau, Clayton Keller, Jason Robertson, and Nick Suzuki. Splash shot, which
fun.
It was fun, but you're gonna see on the TV the boards on one end were not constructed the same as the other, and you'll see when you watch it. Those are the contestants are Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon, and they won't show this on the TV, but the MC had a little bit of a hard time pronouncing the names. Mikko Rantanen, Igor Shesterkin.
No, you just said it right. He said he did not. He said like Shesherin or something.
Shesherin.
Shesherin, that's what it was.
Yeah, Cale Makar's part of it as well. Adam Fox and both Matthew and Brady. So
I'm very, very surprised the NHL got Sidney Crosby to sit in a dunk tank.
Yeah, so that one's fun for sure, and we got a little bit of a close up there. Of course, PK Subban and Kevin Weeks are the MCs of the event when you guys see it on TV. Hardest shot, Rasmus Dahlin, who replaced Tage Thompson in the event. Sad to see Tage Thompson not performing. Seth Jones, Josh Morrissey, Alexander Ovechkin, which of course, that's a great addition with how he's going on his goal pace, and Elias Pettersson as well, fastest skater, which Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid asked the NHL not to be uh, a part of it anymore, so we won't be seeing Connor McDavid in it. But Dylan Larkin, Kirill Kaprizov, Cale Makar, Chandler Stevenson, who replaced Matty Bernier, so there's no representation for the Kraken there, and Andrei Sneknikov. And breakaway challenge, Roberto Luongo is part of it as the celebrity goalie, and Mitch Marner, Ovi and Crosby together. What do you think of Ovechkin and Crosby doing pairing up together for the events?
Well, a quote came out today. I don't know which one of them said it, but it basically said, when we both retire, we'll probably have a couple beers together. I'm going to find which one said it.
That's awesome. And of course, to finish off the breakaway challenge, David Pastrnak and Matthew Tkachuk are part of it. While you're finding out, we're gonna list off the tandem, the attendee tandem. All 5 goalies will be participating in it, including women's hockey players, 3 from the USA. 3 from Canada, 2 from the USA, including Alex Carpenter, Hillary Knight, Emily Clark, Rebecca Johnston, and Sarah Nurse.
We did meet Emily Clark yesterday.
You did. Nice. That's all.
You were there too.
Yeah. Yes. She was with Aaron Brown. We met her with Aaron Brown when we went to the tent. So
the quote was from Ovechkin. When me and him are going to be retired, we're going to have a couple beers together. This was at media day yesterday.
That's awesome. So like a long-time rivalry for those two, and then now them getting together as well. And we have an announcement of who will be performing the national anthems. Sarah Walpole will be performing "Old Canada," and the Game Ends chorus of South Florida will be singing the Star Spangled Banner. For the All-Star Game, Sasha will be performing "Old Canada," and Andrew McMahon will be performing the Star Spangled Banner for Saturday. And Fall Out Boy, the second intermission performance, along with the Central Florida Community Arts Symphony Orchestra. Fun fact for everybody, too. If you go to the Incredible Hulk ride at Universal Orlando and you hear the music, that music was composed by Patrick Stump of Fall Out Boy. So fun fact about there. So not only is he a great musician and the lead singer of Fall Out Boy, but he's actually an actual composer. So they put that stuff together for that. Which event are you looking forward to most for the skills competition, Alex?
Breakaway. I'm still upset the NHL doesn't have their old breakaway challenge where they would have it wasn't trying to score. Wait. Is it so the breakaway challenge used to be like years ago, you would try and make like cool moves going in on the goalie. Is it like that again? Because they got rid of that for like 6 years.
I think it's gonna be like the goalie's like letting you score, and then you just create.
Okay, so
I think it's kind of like the dunk contest.
If that's how it is, then I want that because they got rid of that for years. Where that was the most creative. Like I remember one year in Montreal, Alex Kovalev, who was playing for the Habs, flipped the puck on his back and then caught it on his back and then flipped it back up. Ovechkin and Malkin shared the sticks. So Ovechkin took Malkin's stick and he did the 2 sticks with the Canadian flag coming out of the hat. Patrick Kane had the fake puck where he took the slap shot with the Superman cape and he blew up the puck. That was the coolest event at the skills competition. So if that's what the breakaway challenge is, that's what I'm most excited about. Mm-hmm. And I still think I'd be most excited about that because Roberto Luongo and Matthew Tkachuk are both in it.
Yeah, and of course Sasha Barkov being in it too. So those are the 2 Florida Panthers showcased in the skills competition. Of course with the All-Star Saturday afternoon at 3 p.m., which you'll have the Western Conference All-Stars go against each other and the East against each other. And right before the event for the skills, the red carpet show will be from 3 p.m. to 4:30 at the Beach Festival today. And literally as soon as that's over, I highly recommend get yourself to the arena if you happen to be going tonight for the event, because for people out of town, not everything's that close in South Florida when it comes to the
rush hour.
Yeah.
So if you needed to miss something, the red carpet might be the thing you miss just so you can get to the arena on time.
Yeah, and yeah, with how they're marketing Fort Lauderdale versus the actual events going on at the arena and Sunrise taking 595 West to it, it's not going to be an easy commute. It's not an easy commute for me as well, and you as well, Alex.
Yeah,
For
I
to
will
where
not be going to the beach today. I will be staying home writing articles because it's only a 15-minute drive to FLA Live for me, but a 45-minute drive to Fort Lauderdale Beach Park. So
Yeah. For me, I'm as always, I'm staying in Miami-Dade, where that's home for me every single time. So it's even a further drive for me. So might go to the beach festival for a little bit before heading to the arena. We'll be meeting up with Alex Slemp of Full Press NHL. Super excited to have him come to town, and we're gonna definitely all enjoy the skills competition together. But Alex, I want to thank you for joining on to this episode of the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast. Tell everybody where they can find you online.
you can find me on Twitter at Baumgartner91.
And you could also check out his articles at 5 Reasons Sports Network. Don't forget about that. And when he posts some articles, of course, him being special guest on the show, I will also retweet them as well for you to get a little bit of a perspective. So thank you so much, Alex, and I'll see you next time on the show.
Wear sunscreen, Armando.
Yes. Will do. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to the podcast to be notified every single time the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast jumps into your podcast feed. Don't forget to also subscribe to the other shows on the Locked On NHL network, including Locked On NHL, Locked On Fantasy Hockey, Flip Livingstone, and Steel Roden, and Locked On NHL Prospects with Heidi Halakash. Thank you for making the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast your first listen of the day. And for your second listen of the day, make sure to listen to today's episode of Locked On Sports Today. Peter Bukowski brings you a 20-minute or less podcast on the entirety of the sports scene with some special guests and the take of the day. Follow Locked On Sports Today on the Odyssey app, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. So I'm Armando Velez with Alex Baumgartner, and you've been listening to the Locked On Florida Panthers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day.